All right, everybody, Cutco Mike here, my knife guy. I get so many requests. This is my 18th year doing Cutco. What are the best knives for small hands? What are the best knives for paring knives? What are the best utility knives? And what we're going to talk to you in this video here is what those are, right? What those knives are. So let's focus down here on this cutting board. We're at a sharpening event here, but this is what I would say is your whole set worth of small knives. So we'll actually start here and highlight the paring knives. And one little joke we have with Cutco is what's new this year, and Cutco keeps making paring knives, right? But one of the features of a Cutco paring knife is the longer handle. So a lot of moms and customers like the longer handle so you can grip it. So this is your 1720, your 2 3/4 paring knife. Most people cut with this one, which you always can do. It's a Cutco, we sharpen it for free. But this is gonna be designed to be used in the air for peeling, for coring, for taking tops of strawberries off. You can get in there and use that tip. But this is gonna be your small paring knife. And then one of the, like I always say, standards in the collection. So what I always say with that one is try to limit the cutting on a cutting board, because when you cut with it, it will dull a little faster. This one, in my opinion, is the best kept secret paring knife. It's the curved one. And the reason why I like this one is when you actually cut, you actually are not hitting the blade on a cutting board. So the only thing that's dulling is this tip here. So this one, out of all the paring knives, will actually stay sharp probably the longest, or 2 to 3 times longer than a typical one. So with this feature here, there's a term in chef school or cooking school to tourner a potato. It's where you take a potato and make it into like a football. It's 8 sides of a potato. If you're just a home chef or a home cook, you don't need to worry about that, except this knife is great. You can just kind of twist and pop out the stems and the tops of, strawberries, the eyes of potatoes. But I like this one. I use this to cut my butter into little slices. I use this to cut my bananas. I use this as a cutting paring knife. So that's the bird's beak. Next one here is the Santoku, or the 3-inch. I call this a mini chopper. So let's say you're a little too terrified of the bigger knives. This little one here, you can do a little mini chop with, using it on peppers, jalapenos, because you have that tip there so you can kind of drag it in. So it's great. It's a great like pepper knife. It's a great jalapeno knife. It's a great little kind of mincer garlic knife. And if you like those Santoku style knives, this is like a Santoku mini paring knife, right? All of them are gonna cut, right? That's the great thing about Cutco. So this is one of the newer styles here. And if you see here, I have an emblem on there. We can actually do Cutco as giveaway items or promotional gifts or company gifts. But this is the newer design called the kind of bigger bevel. So these are the gourmet styles. And people always ask, what's different? Well, this is a 2-inch, 2 3/4 inch, and this is a 3-inch. You can see there's just a tad bit bigger of a length. And then this would be a 4-inch. So you can kind of collect them all there, all side by side. But this one here, you're just gonna get a little bit more of a kind of a upward cutout bevel. And that'll just be a really nice cut when you're cutting grapes or cutting fruit. And once again, anytime you cut with these blades, expect these to be sharpened every 2 to 3 years, if not sooner. But it's just a nice size, really good size, comfortable size to cut with. Once again, paring knives, you're typically supposed to use them in the air, but we're all guilty of using these as cutting knives. Next one here is gonna be the 4 inches. And I call these the mom knife, the grandma knife, the all-purpose knife, the smoothie knife. This is just the greatest little utility knife. I mean, if you like steak knives that are non-serrated, I mean, our serrated steak knives are out of this world, but these are, could be steak knives too, if you want a smooth edge steak knife. But both of these are your workhorse paring knives. I use these every night to cut apples, cut onions, cut fruit that's about the size of a baseball, or to cut down things, like if you're gonna prep, for a fruit tray or smoothies or veggies. So those right there is gonna be your family of paring knives. So you have a 6 collection or a 6 paring knife set. And then kind of moving down the line here, these are gonna be your other variety of a small knife. This is the Old Faithful, the trimmer, the extension of your hand. It's the original kind of go-to knife. Tomatoes, steak, trimming, anything that's literally the size of a baseball. If you're comparing these two, because people go, what's the difference? This is gonna be for your more harder to cut things that are denser, like your potatoes, sweet potatoes, onions, apples. And then this is going to be more for slicing, like tomatoes, limes, lemons. So something that's more of softer and squishy on the inside, use the serrated. And then something that's a little bit harder and denser on the inside, use the paring knife. So it's a good rule of thumb. When you have a smooth edge, it's going to give you less resistance. And then the serrated DD edge, another great knife here for a gift. And this is the #1 knife that lenders and realtors like to give out because it's like an all-purpose bar knife, a steak knife, a tomato knife all in one. So this is the Santoku trimmer. This is the, I would say, the cousin or the brother or sister to the trimmer. And the main difference with this trimmer, you kind of have to pull up to cut. This one has the tip here, so you don't really have to pull up. So that tip will always catch there on the end. Once again, very similar. It's just a matter of, you know, some ladies have a preference of this style, some have a preference of this style. They're both really great pieces. But when it comes down to it, literally the size of a baseball would be what you would want to cut with something of these sizes, right? You wouldn't want to use these on watermelon or anything bigger. And then we have the famous Cutco cheese knives. It really all started with this guy here. This is our gadget style cheese knife. This became so popular that people wanted to get in their knife set. Some ladies like this because it's so lightweight. If you actually were able to feel this, it's our lightest knife we make. It's also great grip, so if you're trying to give it to somebody who's a little bit elderly, like an 80-year-old parent or, you know, grandparent, they can lift it real easy, and it's not pointed, so it's still sharp, but it's a little bit safer for them to use if they're maybe on blood thinner or a little bit elderly. But it's just a great knife. And if you have a bar or you have a pool, you want to bring it outside to cut limes, lemons for your mixed drinks, blue moons. And then you have the traditional cheese knife that's in pretty much all the sets now. It's designed to cut cheese, but these holes release stuff from sticking. So it'll release cucumbers, it'll release potatoes, apples. And this has the micro double Cutco edge. So what that means is the Cutco edge looks like this, where there's 3 little razor blades. And this is the original DD edge, but the micro DD edge is on our cheese knives. And then our paring knives and chef knives have a smooth edge. And then this was designed basically to have a little bit smaller of a handle. So people always ask, what's the difference between the cheese knife and the mini cheese knife? Just a mini version, right? So the handle's a little bit minier. So moms with smaller hands or moms that like paring knives love the mini cheese knife. I call it like a paring knife cheese knife because they can really get in there and grip it like a paring knife. If you're gonna set a cheese board or a cheese platter, obviously the small one is a little bit nicer to set out, depending on how much you have on the board, right? And then this is your chopping style cheese knife. So it also has a smaller handle like a paring knife, but you could chop with this, you can drag through, and it's also that Santoku style, right? So there you have it. Let's take one last kind of look down the line here. We have, you know, your cheese knives, you have your paring knives, your utility knives, and then you technically have this guy here, the #1 seller of all time, the table knife, which could cut meat, cut butter. You can cut pretty much anything with this. And most people have these on the bottom of their set, which you can grab and cut everything with. So I love when people go, Mike, I don't eat steak. I don't need those. I go, well, you're getting it all wrong. These are like your workhorses. These are the ones you'll grab for everything. And then we, about 10 years ago, came out with the deluxe style steak knife. So deluxe style steak knife is kind of like your fully loaded truck or SUV. It's got a bigger feel. The quality, the edge will still cut the same way. And it's just got a smaller, skinnier handle. So there you have it, guys. Reach out, comment, like, subscribe. Let me know how I can ever help or serve you. And if you're like, hey, I want all those, or I want that set or that kit, let me know. I'll be glad to get you my Cutco Mike best price guarantee. Thanks for watching. Take care.